At my company's award gala, my manager drunkenly toasted, "Let's hear it for me, because if I hadn't sabotaged her projects, she wouldn't even be standing up here." Nervous laughter spread across the room as he raised his glass higher. I smiled, knowing exactly what was happening, because corporate HR had already planted 2 recorders in the venue that night. Within an hour, he was fired, sued for fraud, and his speech was trending online as the toast that ended a career in 90 seconds. I'm not the type to start drama. I usually stay quiet, get my work done, and keep my head down. That's how I survived 14 years in corporate. But this story, it's different. My name's Marla. I'm 42, divorced, and I live alone in a little ranch house outside Scottsdale, Arizona. I work in procurement for a large tech company. Won't say the name, but you'd recognize it. I'm the kind of person that keeps things running while the people in fancy suits pat each other on the back. Everything was fine until Jack Marrow showed up. Jack was hired as the new regional director about 3 years ago. Tall, always smiling, great hair, expensive shoes. The kind of guy who remembers birthdays, quotes business books, and somehow turns every conversation back to himself. Everyone loved him at first. He was a visionary, or whatever word corporate likes to throw around for people who talk more than they listen. He took an interest in me from the beginning. Said I had institutional wisdom, and he wanted to learn from the best. I was flattered, honestly. He sat in on my team meetings, asked me for walkthroughs on our contracts, had me send over past project files for review. Looking back, he was casing me like a thief planning a break-in. It started small. He'd reassign a few tasks I was working on, always last minute, always with some excuse. Then he started calling private meetings without me, even though I was the lead on those projects. He'd forward vague summaries, saying I was looped in. I wasn't. Then the real hit came. I spent almost 3 months putting together a cost-saving proposal, vendor consolidation across 4 divisions. It was airtight. Over $2 million in projected savings. Jack reviewed it and said it wasn't presentation ready. Told me to hold it until Q1. 2 weeks later, I found out he had taken it to the executive planning retreat. Presented it as his own. Didn't even change the title slide. I wanted to scream. Instead, I played dumb. Said nothing. Just logged everything. That was the start of what I called my shadow file. A private record of every shady thing Jack did. Every email he twisted. Every time he took my numbers, reworded them, and slapped his name on it. Every time he hinted to higher-ups that I might be burned out or struggling to keep up. People started treating me different. Some stopped looping me into meetings. Others acted like I was fragile. Like I was hanging on by a thread. I was furious. But I wasn't stupid. So, I kept showing up. Smiling. Nodding. I gathered receipts, built timelines, matched metadata on reports. I even found someone in finance who noticed Jack was double-booking project hours and underreporting vendor issues to inflate success rates. He wasn't just stealing credit. He was cooking the books. I knew I couldn't go to HR yet. Not without real proof. Jack was slick. On paper, everything looked like a collaborative effort. He always had just enough plausible deniability. So I waited. And then came the annual award gala. It's a black-tie thing at a fancy hotel in Scottsdale. Every department head, every VP, all gathered for speeches and drinks and plastic trophies. Jack was getting the Regional Growth Leadership Award. Which was hilarious because most of the growth came from the projects I started and he twisted. But I wasn't mad. I was ready. 6 months before the gala, I sent a report to corporate HR. Quiet. Detailed. Full of proof. I didn't ask them to fire him. I just wanted them watching. They were. 2 compliance officers flew in for the event. Plain clothes. HR told me they would be recording everything. For legal protection, they said. I didn't ask questions. I just smiled. Then came the moment. Jack was hammered by 8 p.m. He kept hopping on the mic between awards, shouting inside jokes no one understood. Everyone laughed politely. You could smell the scotch on him. When they called his name, he stumbled up with his glass raised. Face red, eyes glassy. He took the mic and said, loud and clear, "Let's hear it for me, because if I hadn't sabotaged Marla's projects, she wouldn't even be standing up here." The room went dead silent. Then came awkward laughter. People thought maybe it was a joke. He kept going. "No, seriously. She was going nowhere. I cleared the path. You're welcome." People looked at me. I smiled. I didn't say a word. Within an hour, he was gone. Security walked him out. HR pulled me aside and told me they'd been preparing for this. By the next morning, his company login was deactivated. His company phone? Wiped. The internal memo about leadership restructuring went out that afternoon. And the video? Someone at our table posted it online. Within 24 hours, it was all over Reddit and TikTok. People were calling it the toast that ended a career in 90 seconds. There were reaction videos, memes, even a remix. But no one saw the 2 years before that night. No one saw what it felt like to be slowly erased. To hear your own ideas come out of someone else's mouth. To feel like you were being gaslit by a man everyone else thought was charming. Jack made his own bed. I just made sure there were cameras when he fell into it. I'm still at the company. Promoted, actually. I have a new boss now. Quiet guy. Respectful. Keeps to himself. And Jack. Last I heard, he's trying to launch some kind of executive coaching brand. Says he teaches leadership through adversity. I guess he knows all about adversity now. About a month after the gala, things finally felt normal again. I could walk into a meeting without feeling invisible. People started asking for my input again, not because they had to, but because they wanted it. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I had to defend myself just to do my job. But peace never lasts long in corporate. 3 weeks after Jack got fired, I got a message on LinkedIn. It was from a burner account. No photo, no last name. Just a message. Enjoy the spotlight. It won't last. I blocked it, of course. Figured it was some bitter ex-employee or a troll. But then, 2 days later, my boss called me into his office. "There's a review coming down from legal," he said. Something about data leaks and project ownership disputes. I stared at him. From who? Anonymous tip. But detailed. Too detailed. They're reopening every project file Jack submitted in the past 18 months, and any file your name was attached to. My stomach sank. I knew exactly what this was. Jack wasn't done. Even after everything, the toast, the firing, the video, he still had cards to play. And apparently, he had friends in places I didn't expect. Over the next few weeks, legal hounded me with questions. They asked about document ownership, timestamps, editing history. I gave them everything. I had backup drives, emails, even physical copies of signed-off project summaries. Still, the whole thing left a mark. I could see the look in some people's eyes, like they weren't sure anymore. Like maybe I had gone too far. The worst part? Someone started talking. It started small. Little whispers at lunch. Cold shoulders from folks who used to say hi in the hallway. Then one day, I walked into a team sync and my own junior analyst, a guy I mentored, wouldn't make eye contact with me. I asked him about it after. He hesitated, then finally said, "People are saying you set him up. That you baited him into that toast." I laughed. "You think I made him get drunk and confess?" He didn't answer. The rumors spread fast. She planned it. She made HR record it. She knew he'd crack. People acted like I'd committed some sort of corporate ambush, like it wasn't Jack's own mouth that took him down, but mine. One afternoon, I went to the parking garage and found a printed screenshot of the toast video taped to my windshield. Someone had written across it in red Sharpie, "Congrats, Queen of Petty." I sat in my car for a long time that day, just staring at the wheel. I'd waited 2 years for justice. I never thought justice would come with a side of paranoia and resentment. Then things got worse. One of my major vendors, a group I'd worked with for 6 years, suddenly pulled out of a contract renewal. They didn't give a reason, just said they were reevaluating relationships. A week later, another one ghosted us mid-negotiation. I started digging. And guess what I found? Jack had reached out to both vendors. I got copies of the emails from an old contact in their sales team. He was warning them that I was under internal investigation and may have falsified prior contract data. None of it was true, but Jack was poisoning the well, slowly, quietly, from the outside. I reported it. Legal sent a cease and desist. But the damage was done. I had to spend the next 2 months rebuilding trust, chasing leads, explaining myself in meetings I never should have had to attend. It wore me down. I wasn't sleeping. My chest would tighten every time a new email hit my inbox. And then came the lawsuit. Not from Jack, from a small contractor we'd worked with during one of the projects he stole from me. Turns out Jack had made some handshake deals behind my back. Promises that weren't in writing, weren't approved, and weren't legal. But they had my name on the project file. Now I was being pulled into court to testify about decisions I never made because Jack made sure the paperwork looked like I did. I sat in deposition, answering cold questions from a lawyer who didn't know me, didn't care. Just reading emails Jack had ghostwritten and made it look like they came from me. That night, I sat in the dark on my back porch, staring at the gravel yard, thinking, what if he wins? What if he brings me down from the outside? I'd beaten him once. But this wasn't a one-night revenge story anymore. This was a war. And Jack wasn't finished. 3 days after the deposition, I came home to find my front door slightly cracked open. My stomach flipped. I hadn't left it like that. I know I didn't. I live alone. No kids. No pets. No one else has a key. I stepped inside slow, keys between my fingers like claws, ready to swing if I had to. Nothing looked stolen. Nothing was trashed. But there was one thing off. My home office door was wide open. I always kept it closed. Inside, my file cabinet drawer was open. The one with the older project records. The hard copies. I stood there for a full minute trying to breathe. Nothing was missing, but things had clearly been moved. I'd spent years building that cabinet. I knew where every damn staple sat. This wasn't in my head. I called the police, filed a report, and had a locksmith change the locks that night. But deep down, I already knew. This wasn't random. This wasn't a break-in. This was someone looking for something. Something to cover their own tracks. The next morning, I installed cameras. Inside. Outside. Everywhere. 2 nights later, my motion alert pinged at 3:14 a.m. I checked the feed and saw a man standing just outside the range of my front porch camera. Tall. Hoodie. Face turned away. He never stepped closer, just stood there, like he was checking to see if the house was watched. I called the cops again. They came, took the footage, said they'd increase patrols. Nothing happened for a week after that. Then I got another email. This time from an anonymous address with an encrypted PDF attachment. No message body, no name. I opened it. Inside were scanned images of internal company documents. My name on one, Jack's signature on another. But what caught my eye was the forged approval, a digital copy of my signature approving a payment I never saw. Someone was framing me for fraud. I rushed it to legal. They confirmed the doc was submitted through an old back-end channel Jack had access to. A loophole from the old document management system. One that was supposed to be disabled 6 months ago. He had found it and was still submitting fake authorizations under my name, post-termination. Legal finally woke up. They issued a public-facing lawsuit. Cease and desist letters turned into subpoenas. They reopened the full fraud case, not just HR. This time it was bigger. Outside counsel, federal investigators, IT audit logs. But by now, I was exhausted. I was barely sleeping. I was paranoid all the time. And then, one more blow came. I got a letter from the Arizona State Board of Procurement Ethics. Someone had filed an ethics complaint against me. That's when I realized Jack wasn't trying to win. He was trying to bury me in noise. Fake tips, anonymous complaints, vendor whispers, forged documents. None of it had to hold up. It just had to make me look messy, hard to work with, untrustworthy. Like maybe I was just as bad as him. That complaint triggered a suspension of all contract approvals I was involved in, pending review. Suddenly, I was frozen out again. People stopped CCing me. My new boss avoided eye contact. It was like déjà vu. Only this time, the threat was from outside the building. I had spent 2 years tearing Jack down from the inside. Now he was trying to destroy me from the shadows. But he made one mistake. He forgot I still had the binder. The original shadow file. The one with the old metadata, the phone logs, the timelines. The one that got him fired in the first place. I hadn't handed over all of it. I kept the full version. The unredacted one. And I had something else, a thumb drive Jack had once handed me during the early days, thinking I was still on his side. It had his raw working files, spreadsheets, draft reports, voice memos. Back then, I'd never opened them.
But now?
Now it was time to dig deep. And what I found would change everything. That thumb drive was old. Probably from his first few months at the company, when he was still figuring out who to trust. And it was messy. Dozens of files with half-written notes, raw spreadsheets, unfiltered recordings. He never expected anyone to see it. I spent hours going through it. My eyes were burning, my head pounding, but I kept going. And finally, I hit gold. There was a folder labeled Voice Clips. 2022. I almost skipped it. Figured it was just him recording meeting notes. But I opened one file at random. His voice came through, clear as day. Marla's got the numbers, but not the nerve. I'll let her do the groundwork, and then I'll finesse it upstairs. No one questions a man in a blazer with a smile. Another file. She's too proud. Won't play dirty. She's the perfect fall guy if this blows up. And another. If this gets traced, we can pin the vendor inflation on her. She has the original drafts. My hands were shaking. I sat there in my home office, staring at the screen. These were notes. These were confessions. Arrogant, sloppy confessions, recorded like he was journaling his crimes. I copied the entire folder to my laptop. Then I called my lawyer. Within 48 hours, we filed a counterclaim. Defamation, digital fraud, professional sabotage, and harassment. Complete with a motion to unseal Jack's employment records from our company and from his previous employer, where rumors had always swirled about a quiet departure. The company's lawyers took over from there. They issued a joint release to the state board, attaching proof of forged documents, the break-in report, and a forensic audit from IT showing Jack had used an old contractor login to access internal systems after termination. Suddenly, everything shifted. The ethics complaint against me?
Dismissed.
My project freeze? Lifted. The vendor contracts? Renewed. And Jack? He was served with a court summons while filming a webinar for his executive coaching brand, Live. Someone in the chat clipped the moment. His face dropped. He tried to keep going, but he was done. The company sued him for damages, fraud, and breach of contract. I sued him personally for harassment and career sabotage. He countersued, claiming emotional distress from the viral video. It didn't hold. When the recordings were played in court, the judge paused and asked to hear one again. The one where he bragged about setting me up just in case.
He lost. Badly.
He was ordered to pay damages, barred from working in any procurement or finance-adjacent field for 10 years, and blacklisted quietly by half the industry. His coaching site disappeared. His social media went dark. His reputation. What little was left was done. But let me be honest about something. I wasn't spotless either. I could have gone to HR earlier. I could have pushed harder when I saw the first red flags. I waited. I let him walk all over me at first, thinking I was being smart by keeping quiet. And then when I fought back, I didn't just expose him. I baited him. I laid traps. I smiled while he destroyed himself. I didn't stop at justice. I wanted revenge. I got it. But it changed me. Even now, people still look at me sideways. Like they're not sure if I'm the hero or the villain. Maybe I'm both. All I know is this. If you try to bury someone who's still breathing, make sure they don't wake up with a file cabinet full of receipts and a longer memory than you ever gave them credit for. Jack did.
And now?
He works nights at a call center outside Flagstaff. I know because someone sent me a photo of him there, headset on, face tired, eyes down. He used to say I was too nice to play the game. Turns out, I was just patient.